أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذ قال لقمان لابنه وهو يعظه يا بني لا تشرك بالله إن الشرك لظلم عظيم. ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حملته أمه وهنا على وهن وفصاله في عامين أن اشكر لي ولوالديك إلي المصير. وإن جاهداك على أن تشرك بي ما ليس لك به علم فلا تطعهما وصاحبهما في الدنيا معروفا واتبع سبيل من أناب إلي ثم إلي مرجعكم فأنبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى اللهم وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا وقرة أعيننا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Children, our greatest pain and our greatest blessing. How many people here are fathers? Please put your hand up. How many fathers here? MashaAllah, quite a few. How many people planning to be fathers next 5 years? MashaAllah. I'm really happy these children haven't put their hands up. I would have gotten worried. Okay, MashaAllah. So most of us here are parents or soon to be parents. So inshallah, hopefully this is relevant to everybody. The title I was given was How to Place the Love of the Quran and the Sunnah in the Hearts of Children. But I'm going to make it much more broader than that. The topic I'm going to give myself is how do we nurture our children with the challenges of the world around us today? And I'm going to divide that into 3 age groups. 0 to 7, 7 to 14, and 14 to 21. Because Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu, it's reported that he said, play with them until they're 7, teach them until they're 14, and befriend. So play with them for 7 years, teach them for 7 years, and befriend them for the next 7 years. And this statement of Ali ibn Abi Talib was actually the way in which the Prophet's companions used to raise their children. But at each of these age groups, there's unique challenges that we have today. So I'm going to start with 0 to 7. What are the challenges that we have today with making children under 7, from birth to 7, making them love Islam and love the Quran and have an attachment to it? What are our biggest challenges? 0 to 7. What do you guys think? I'm not going to ask any rhetorical questions. Any questions is a real question. So what do you guys think? What are the biggest challenges? Technology? Yes? Parents? Yes. What else? What are the biggest challenges in the world today between 0 and 7? Yes? Sorry? Barakah in time. We don't feel like we don't have time with our kids. What else? Sorry? Sorry? Clearer? Okay, it's clearer. Okay. Anybody else? Yes? Digital games, technology? What about primary school? Anything they're teaching in primary school, is that a challenge for us today? It wasn't a challenge 10 years ago, right? It's a new challenge. Yeah, there's a particular month of the year. Then our children come home with some new ideas. Yeah? Okay. What about friends? Are friends a big challenge at that age, between 0 and 7? No? Okay, what about the economy? What happens when gas and electric prices have gone up, how does that affect the family? When you have really young children, how does that affect the family? You have one person working, but now the prices have gone up. So now what happens in the household? Now you need two people working. Oh, I forgot it's London. You need two people working just to pay rent. Okay, so now you have a dual working household. So who's looking after the child? Nursery. Okay, school. Right, so it's the time, you don't get time with children because you're so busy just trying to keep the lights on at home. Yes? Did you have your, okay. So these are the challenges that we have today in this age group of 0 to 7. Now let's discuss how do we address these challenges and what was the way of the Prophet ﷺ in addressing these challenges. The first thing we have to look at is, what's the most important thing to teach a child between 0 and 7? As a parent, what is your number one priority? What do you need to teach your children at this age? Who can give me a guess? Who thinks the Quran is the most important thing to teach children 0 to 7? Who says Quran? Quran? Who says Quran? Yeah? Not Quran? Who says not Quran? You're saying, what do you think? Okay, manners. Okay, what else? 0 to 7, what do we teach our kids? Al-Tawhid or Iman. Okay, what else? Yeah? Stories of the prophets, which comes back to their Iman, their belief, and their role models. What else? Okay. Between the ages of 0 to 7, there are two most important things to teach your children. The first, in this surah, Surah Al-Luqman, this is something every parent should read, Surah Luqman, which is chapter number 31 in the Quran. In this surah, Surah Luqman, there's a character by the name of Luqman. There's a difference of opinion whether he was a prophet or whether he was a righteous man. But his advice to his children is being captured and narrated. What's the first thing he teaches his child or he narrates to his child? Ya bunayya innaha in taku mithqalu habbatin min khardal فتكن في صخرة أو في السماوات أو في الأرض يأت بها الله إن الله لطيف خبير. He says, my dear son, if there is a tiny mustard seed, it could be hidden anywhere in the sky or in the earth, Allah will find it. Because Allah is Latif, He's subtle in His ways, but He's Khabir, He knows everything. What's the first thing Luqman is teaching his child? What is this? The statement he just made. He's teaching him about Allah. Now, what do parents usually do between the ages of 0 and 7? You have a challenge. If you have boys, you have high energy children bouncing up and down the house. I have 2 boys. I can tell you, I understand the problem. Okay, if you have any children under 7, your greatest challenge is how do I direct their energy? Lots of energy running around, breaking things, pulling things, going to the kitchen cabinet, pulling the bleach from the kitchen cabinet. You're praying salah, climbing on your head when you're praying salah. Okay. At this age, often a parent tries to scare their children. If you don't go to sleep, you know the uncle from next door? The one with the big beard? He comes at night. Have you heard this bogeyman story? Lots of parents use this. You know what happens if you don't do this? I'm going to call mama. Yeah. If mama comes, it's game over for you. Or reverse. Mom's at home, dad's at work. When baba comes home from work, I'm gonna tell baba. So the scaremongering tactic. You know why it doesn't work? At some point in time, this child is going to be on their own without parents around. When a child is on their own, who do you want them to be scared of? The parent or Allah? The greatest thing a parent can teach their child between 0 to 7 is to connect them and make them understand who is Allah. Let them love Allah. Let them fear Allah. Let them understand Allah is watching them. If you have done that, you have sorted out 50% of your problems for the rest of your life. All the other influences on a child's life will have less influence because the child is conscious of Allah. So you take your children between 0 and 7, take children often out into nature, to the parks, to the beaches, go on walks. Point up at the sky, at the flowers, at the bees. Who made this? Where did this come from? How did this? Look at the rain. Who sent the rain to us? Keep asking the child, where did it come from? And keep embedding this idea, everything came from Allah. You buy a toy for your child. Your child says, "Thank you so much." You say, "No, this was from Allah." So say, "Alhamdulillah." Connect them not to you, connect them directly to Allah. This is what you need to keep doing again and again between age 0 and 7. The second thing, how do we deal with screens? Between ages 0 to 7, there's two possible things. The first one is a hardcore approach. This is my madhab that I follow, which is no screens at all. When my first child was born, I sold my TV. Because I know I'm weak. So when my child is crying and screaming and troubling me and not letting me sleep, or not letting me do my day-to-day work, so what am I going to do to pacify the child? I'll just turn on the TV. And you can just keep doing that day in and day out. Because it's convenient. So to make it more difficult for myself, I sold the TV. So now I have to entertain this child somehow. Stories, blocks, Lego. Somehow I need to entertain the child. I cannot use the TV as a drug. So this is one approach. There's a second approach. Keep your screens, but your child should not see anything except what you choose them to see. Control the content and control how much time your children are exposed to screens. In fact, you can actually use the screen to your advantage. How is that possible? How can you use the screen to your advantage? TV, laptops, phones, how can you use it to your advantage? Yeah? Okay, by allowing them to watch Islamic reminders. Do you think a 4-year-old is interested in a khutbah? What do you think we can use to something useful for the kids? Go on. Sorry? Incentives like? What I advise is to look for cartoons that have good messages for the children. Cartoons, stories of the prophets. Cartoons, Salahuddin al-Ayyubi. Cartoons that tell them the stories of those before them. There's a beautiful cartoon movie about Tariq ibn Ziyad, the man who conquered Al-Andalus. There's a beautiful cartoon series about Salahuddin al-Ayyubi. Cartoon Salahuddin, you can search it. There's beautiful cartoons about the stories of the prophets. Cartoons with good meanings, with good stories. Select them. Never give your child a free rein to do whatever they want on a screen. You select it for them, you place it for them, and you give them 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. What's the advantage of this? You're hitting two birds with one stone. The first thing is, you are letting your child be entertained. But the second thing, you're teaching them, but through a different medium. So carefully select and spend time understanding what is possible for this child to watch when it comes to technology. The third challenge, between age 0 and 7. So I said the first most important thing to teach your child is to teach them about Allah and to connect them to Allah. Now the challenge at this age is how to discipline your child. We all grew up in different cultures, different ways of disciplining, scaring them, naughty corner, time out, physical discipline. There's lots of different ways. Did the Prophet ﷺ ever beat a child? The Prophet ﷺ never beat a child. That's the sunnah of the Prophet. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Muru awladakum bis-salati bi-sab'in." When your children reach 7, start telling them, now we have to pray. وَضْرِبُوهُمْ عَلَيْهِ بِعَشْرٍ. But only discipline them when they miss salah once they reach the age of 10. So what happens before 7? No salah. Before 7 is teaching them about Allah and the prophets and the companions. Once they hit the age of 7, my advice to everybody, which I did for my own children, go and buy a prayer mat, one of those nice children ones with your child's name on it. Give them a special gift. And go and tell the uncles in the front row of the masjid, uncles, from tomorrow I'm going to bring my child with me at Maghrib time to masjid. He's 7, she's 7. Please do not harass them. They will be a bit noisy, a bit troubling, running around maybe, excited, rolling maybe. Leave them. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, I have to start training him for salah. So please be patient with my children in the masjid. Most of the time, older people don't have patience. They don't like the noise of the children. But would you like the noise of the children here, or would you like them in the nightclub? We can push them away from here, then they can make noise in the nightclub. That's the choice. If we don't allow our children to roll around and run around here, they will roll around and they will run around somewhere else. Of course, the sanctity of the masjid, of course, the sacredness of the masjid, of course, the manners, but the child is learning. The time will come. So, until the age of 7, before we should not be pushing them to pray. Children, you will notice, from the age of 1, they start praying salah by themselves. How? How do they start praying salah by themselves? Imitation. So I said, number 1, teach your children about Allah. Number 2, deal with the screens. Choose your madhab. Screen or no screen. If there's screen, choose what they're watching. No screen, get lots of Lego, lots of books. Get them other things that they can productively spend time with. Number 3, between 0 and 7, the most difficult thing is not managing the child. The most difficult thing is managing yourself. Between the age of 0 and 7, 70 to 80% of a child's personality is developed already. Where is it being developed from? From watching their parents. Just watching. This is the greatest test of your character. You're screaming at your spouse, having a big argument in front of your child. They're watching. 20 years from now, they'll have the same argument with their spouse. Same. You're in front of your child drops something, you lose your temper, scream. You pick up the child, you shake the child, or anything, any sudden actions like this, the child, it will never leave the memory of this child. So the hardest thing between age 0 and 7 is working on yourself as a parent. Training yourself, controlling your emotions, controlling your anger, controlling your bad behaviors. Because if you don't, your children will simply copy you. And when they start becoming 4, 5, 6, you'll start getting worried because you'll start seeing them do things that you do. It's very scary. You scream at somebody, when age 4, 4-year-old, when you see a 4-year-old screaming, it's very scary. Where did they learn that? Only from me. So, 3 things between age 0 and 7. Teach them about Allah. Give them the right environment. And more importantly, work on your own character. Because this is what the child is copying and imitating every day. Between the ages of 0 and 7, what did the Prophet ﷺ do with children? Most of the time, what would he be doing with them? Play. Play with your children. The Prophet ﷺ when he would come across children, young children, he would rub their hair. He would pick them up. He would grab them. He would tussle, wrestle with them. If he's praying salah and they climb upon him, he won't move. He will let them stay climbing, using him as a horse. This happens very often as a parent. You're in sujood, your child thinks that you're a horse, they come and sit on top of your back. The Prophet ﷺ sunnah, don't move. Let them ride the horse. Where's the rush? You make dua in sujood. When you're done, they'll move and you stand up. Gentleness with them, mercy with them. Anas ibn Malik, who knows how old was Anas ibn Malik when the Prophet ﷺ came to Medina? How old was Anas? Is it 7? Not 7. Close. He was 6. The Prophet ﷺ comes to Medina and his mother says, this is my son, Khuwaydimuka ya Rasulallah. He's going to be your servant from today. Now tell me, is a 6-year-old boy useful as a servant? No, most of the time you're just going to be like watching him play. But the Prophet ﷺ took this woman's request. She said, okay, he's my little helper. Now, the Prophet ﷺ says to Anas, go take this, go give it over there to that person. Anas leaves the house. He sees a bunch of little boys playing. What does he do? He forgets what the Prophet told him and he goes and starts playing. Then he remembers, oh, I was supposed to go and do this. The Prophet ﷺ comes out to the house and he sees him and he just smiles. Because under the age of 7, children, they do not have the ability to make decisions, good decisions. Command and conquer does not work. The style of the Prophet with children under 7 was to play with them and to show them mercy and to show them gentleness, not to be harsh with them. Because the harshness, that time will come. Trust me. Age of 10, 7 to 14, that's the time to show firmness, to show discipline, to have boundaries, to have rules, etc. But until the age of 7, everything is soft and is gentle. Now we come to the age of 7 and 14. What are the biggest challenges in the 21st century between the ages of 7 and 14? Social media. What else? Okay, watching. How old are you? 7, mashallah. So you know, yes. Huh? Trying to fit in, mashallah. Your dad didn't tell you about that answer, did he? He didn't, sure. Listen, what's your name, young boy? Isa, come here. Come sit here. Quickly. Come, sit here. Okay, Isa is going to be the special question answerer from now on. Okay, because his dad is telling him some smart answers. We don't allow that in Masjid Al-Tawhid. Okay, social media. What else? Now, a child at 7 to 14, go on, tell me. Friends. Oh, the danger one. Peer pressure. Okay, so what do people... Between 7 and 4... Okay, I'm going to ask you a very difficult question. We don't want to know the answer, but it's important to know the answer. At what age... So, 1 in 3 children in the UK get exposed to pornography. At what age do you think they get exposed to pornography? You think 10? Anybody else? 14. Sorry, 13. It's 8. Okay? So let's say we have 60 people here. 20 of your children are going to get exposed to pornography at the age of 8. We need to be real. I'm not here to come, recite Quran, tell you nice stories and go home. No, this is real. This is what you're going to struggle with your children, and I struggle with my children. They're going to be exposed to this stuff. Okay. 1 in 6 children in London will end up smoking or involved in some kind of drug activity. At what age do you think that happens? It's at the age of 13. And these are depressing statistics, but they're true. They're just facts. Now we have to deal with the facts. So now, your young, adorable child is now 7, 8, 9. Now they're in year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6. Depending on which school they're going, they have various influences in their life. Good friends, bad friends, terrible friends. Good teachers, bad teachers. Social media. What they're watching on the telly. Let's start with social media. Between the ages of 7 and 14, should a person have a smartphone? Who says yes? Alhamdulillah. If you say yes, you and me are going to have a battle. Between the ages of 7 and 14, nobody should have a smartphone, please. I know people say controlled usage, moderated usage, monitored usage. I work in the field of IT. I've built mobile applications. I know the field. I know the gadget. I've taken them apart, put them back together. I'm telling you, you don't want one of those in the hands of your children. The greatest social media giants of all time, Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook. Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft, they don't allow their kids to use mobile phones, smartphones until the age of 16. So we should learn from them. They built these things, so we should learn from them. So that's the technology side. Now, the hardest thing is now, as a parent, until the age of 7, the parent was Superman, the greatest person in the life of the child. Now 7 to 14, you drop your child to school, you try to kiss your child on the cheek before they leave the car. What are they doing? They're running away from you. Stop being weird. You're embarrassing me. Oh my God. What's this? Until the age of 7, you were sitting in my lap and I was hugging and kissing. Now the child is 11 years old and they don't want to know me. What's going on? The child is starting to worry more about their perception by their peers, by their friends, by their colleagues. Now it's a very different game. At this age, it's really important for children to have role models outside the house. Not you as a parent. Because at this point in time, children start to become allergic to their parents. They need another role model outside the house. Now tell me, where are they going to find a role model outside the house? Let's get some ideas. Sorry? Friends? No, good. If you were to choose their role models outside the house, where are you going to find them? Okay, let's say the Masjid, for instance. What else? Sorry? Family members? Okay, what else? Activities. Let me give you guys some ideas. A Muslim football coach. Doesn't have to be a pro. Some brother who knows how to play football. Get them to start a little football 5-a-side. Send your 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old child to that once a week. Muslim-only children, Muslim coach. They pray salah together, play some football, and they leave. What's the child getting out of this? They're going to play football anyway with their mates. What are they getting out of this? One good role model. The football coach is practicing, praying salah. Okay, here's another idea. For boys, martial arts. For sisters, for girls, similar activities, swimming, martial arts, football. Things that children love to do. Games, Lego, fun. But do it in the masjid. Run it, make it run by Muslims. Get Muslim volunteers to run them and do them in the evenings, in the weekends. Get the masjid to host these. Why? If you don't provide it for your children with a good role model, they will get it from somewhere else. Now, we said the masjid. Children can get good role models in the masjid. Between ages 7 to 14, around this time, parents start to send their children to something after school which we call madrassah or maktab, in order for them to learn about Islam. Are our madrasas and maktabs fit for purpose? Yes or no? I'm not talking about this masjid. Generally, I don't know anything about this masjid, but generally our madrasas across the country, are they fit for our children? Do they deliver some value to our children, or what are they losing out on? Tell me. Feedback session. Yes. Okay, you're saying tarbiyah. What's tarbiyah? Okay, nurturing the character of the child. Anything else? Yes? Okay, the madrasa is outdated in their teaching methods. Anything else? Yes, not sometimes, be honest about it, bro. Most of the time, madrasas are pushing children away and making them resent the Quran. Madrasas need some form of reform. The first thing is the curriculum. Madrasa should include more play, more story time, more nasheeds, get the kids standing, get them moving. Children do not like, after sitting from 9 to 3, they're coming and sitting again from 4 to 6. This is how you develop ADHD. You get jittery children because they're not moving about. Get them moving, get them play, activities, story time. Teach them in a more contemporary, in a manner that suits their brains. This is the first thing. The second thing is on parents. How much does madrasa cost per month, roughly? Sorry, £40 a month. Maths tuition, we will pay £30 an hour with our eyes closed like this. Because mera beta engineer banega. Yeah, we want our kids to be engineers, so yeah, £30 an hour, no problem, £30 an hour. Madrasa hiked the cost from £30 to £33 a month. There's riots on the street. People are there with fire to burn the masjid down because of the £3 raise. If your child is between 7 and 14, and you want your child to have good role models outside the house because they started to get sick of their parents, because of this is the way the society is, invest in the madrasa, push the madrasa to change the way they teach and do more things. Push local volunteers to set up football, basketball, sisters' games night. Set up things for children and young adults to go and play and have fun in a safe environment. What will happen otherwise? You will find them doing the same thing somewhere else in a worse environment. If you don't give them friendship and belonging in a Muslim environment, they will get it elsewhere. 7 to 14. Give them role models outside the house and give them friends outside the house, at the masjid. Muslim run football club, Muslim run this, Muslim run that. If you don't have these things, the children between 8, 7 and 14, they will find it elsewhere. Now I will say 7 and 14, this is the window where you make it or you break it. You either gain the child or you've lost the child. Now 14 to 21. Now is it a child anymore? 14 to 21? Sometimes. Most of the time, they're now adults. They've hit puberty. They are on their menses, or they are men. They are men and women now, the vast majority of them, between ages 14 to 21. Between ages 14 to 21, they're also going through hormonal changes, physical changes, They might have doubts, they might have questions. At this point in time, everything you did between 0 and 14 is going to come in handy now. And if you did not give your children time between 0 and 14, now you will lose them and you can never get them back. Trust me. The vast majority of parents who call their imams or mashayikh or ustadh or counselor or chaplain, they call them when their children is 16 or 17. My child is smoking weed. My child's with the wrong crowd. My child is self-harming. My child wants to suicide. My child's not sure about their gender. They're 16 years old. Can you help me? I can have a conversation, but in 30 minutes, I cannot fix 16 years of bad parenting. Where were you? All this time, where were you? Now you want me to fix it. It's not going to work. If the bond was built from 0 to 7, and you got them the right activities, the right community, the right mentors, the right teachers, the right friends between 7 and 14, I'll tell you something. If you're going to raise a child in the UK, please be ready to put double the amount of time and effort that people who raise their children in Muslim countries. Because you are swimming against the current. You are up against the challenges. It's not going to be easy. You know, I'm just going to, for men, for one moment, just for the men. For men, we think our greatest duty is to put food on the table, to earn money for our families. But you know what our children want from us? They don't want our money. They want our time. How long do you think the average parent spends with their child one-to-one every day? How much time? 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? On average, how long do you think parents spend with their children every day? Who says 1 hour? 2 hours? Yeah, 3 hours? The answer is 20 minutes. The average parent in the world today only gets 20 minutes with their children. Is it surprising that when the child gets a friend or a relative or somebody else to influence them, they're not interested in what the parent has to say? One time, there's two in Manchester, where in the masjid I teach at, there's 2 young boys at the age of 10. Excellent manners, memorized the Quran, top of their class. And I asked their father one day, what's the secret? His father drives taxi. He said, look, all of my friends drive taxi, but they drive from 9 to 9. Or they pick up the keys at 6 and they're driving till the next morning, then they're sleeping all day. He said, I drop the kids to school at 9, I drive till 3, pick the kids up, and I put my keys up, that's it. Maybe I have no savings. I'm just getting by, but I get 6 hours of quality time with my sons. That's it. It's not rocket science. I just give them time. Give them time. If you don't give them time, you will regret it. The time will never come back. Go now. Yeah, you can go. A very obedient child, mashallah. He waited very patiently. So this is 14 to 21. Give your children time. At this age, your child will have confusions, they'll have hormones, they'll have desires, they'll have etc. At this age, a young man comes to the Prophet ﷺ and he says, "O Prophet of Allah, I can't bear it anymore. Just let me go and do zina. I'm done. Too many beautiful ladies on the planet. I can't do this." So, what did the Prophet ﷺ say to this young man? He said, "Come here. Let me explain to you." This is the key. At this age, there's a lot of confusion. Between 14 and 21, if your children are now adults, if they can speak to you, this is a great achievement. When they're worried, when they're confused, when somebody at school did something, if they come and they sit with you and say, "You know what happened at school today? You have the gold, you have won the greatest award." They're speaking to you. This is where you want to be now. All the bond you built all these years, now they're speaking to you. Brilliant. Now you can advise them. The Prophet ﷺ says to him, "Look, my son, do you have a mother?" He said, "Yeah." "Would you like someone to do that to your mother?" He said, "No." He said, "Yeah, people have mothers. They don't like this done to their mothers and sisters either." Simple. He gave him an analogy. He made him relate. He explained it to him in a calm manner. The young man understood and he went. If he walloped him around the ear or told him to leave the house and disowned him, he would have lost him forever. So at this age, it's really about dialogue. And it's about keeping that relationship strong with now this future adult, this adult who's soon going to go and live their own life and get married, etc. There's another thing that I recommend. For those parents who can afford it, try and encourage your adult children, your children who are getting older, try and encourage them to get married early. When they're 18, when they're 19, when they're 20, when they're 21, when they're 22. Encourage from a young age, from as early as possible, start encouraging them to the idea that, look, inshallah, why don't you consider getting married early? If you need some financial support, I can support you. You need moral support, I'll support you. If you have the finances, you have the ability, support your children to get married as early as possible, because it's a very strange world out there. And if they're not getting married early, there's plenty of other alternatives for them. So make the halal easy for them. Now, your child is 17, 18. They've gone to college, they've gone to work, they've gone to university. Your daughter's met a brother at university, or your son's met a sister at university. Son comes home. Baba, yes, son. So I was like, I was at an event today. It was an Islamic lecture. And subhanAllah, there was a sister. You know the end of the story. Now the father or the mother at this point in time, their reaction is going to determine everything. Now the child then tells you that the sister they're considering is from a different ethnicity. Ya Allah, Yawmul Qiyamah has come early. How did this child create Yawmul Qiyamah early? How can a Bangladeshi marry a Somali? A'udhu Billah. How can a Gujarati marry a Kashmiri? A'udhu Billah. How can a Palestinian marry Lebanese? No way. So now this child, this young man, young woman, if you ask them on a map, where is back home, they won't know. This is home for them. They're British. Okay, so they don't have that same ethnic connection that we have. Now this British young man, young woman has gone to university, gone to college, gone to work. They found somebody who's a Muslim, who's a practicing Muslim, who's a good person. What's the only problem? She doesn't cook curry. She cooks pasta. Different culture, different food. Sorry. Now, you know what happens now? I can tell you what happens because I'm on the other side. The young man or young woman comes running to, Ustadh, my parents said it's not going to happen. I say, be patient. But you know what happened? 6 months later, those two people, they commit zina. Because they want to marry each other, but the parents said no. There's nothing wrong with either of them. They're Muslims. They're practicing. They're good people. They have good manners. Why did the parents say no? Different ethnicity. Same postcode, different ethnicity. Okay, they've done zina. Now they've come home after zina. Parents says, no, I don't want to know them. But you caused this. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا آتَاكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلُقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ. If someone comes to you, O father, O mother, someone comes to you and their deen and their manners are good, let them get married to your children. Did he say deenahu wa khuluqahu wa ta'amahu wa baladahu wa jinsiyatahu? His deen and his manners and his food and his cuisine and his passport and his culture and the village he's from and which brotherly he's from and which sect he's from. No. If somebody's deen and their manners are good, the Prophet says, let them get married. Why? If you don't let them get married, the Prophet ﷺ tells you what will happen. If you don't let them get married, there will be on the earth fitnatun wa fasadun kabir. There will be great fitna, great temptation on this earth. You will cause young men and women to lose their virginity, to do the wrong things, to get into haram relationships because you didn't let the halal become easy. The parent becomes a barrier. Now the child is now an adult, 18, 19, 20, 21. They have desires. They want to get married. They're at university or their work. At this point in time, the parent becomes a guide. The parent becomes an advisor. But most importantly, make it easy for these young men and women to get married and make it easy for them to continue their life. And with this, from 0 until 21, with these practical advices for the 21st century, from the Quran and from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, I will come to the end of this talk. Anything good I said is from Allah. Any mistake is from myself. We have 17 minutes until Isha, so any questions, you're most welcome to ask. Mm-hmm. Say? Any books I recommend when it comes to the topic of parenting? There's a very nice book by Sheikh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda. It's been translated into English. It's called The Prophet as a Teacher, Ar-Rasul al-Muallim. This is a really nice book to really think about how did the Prophet teach and how did he interact with children and young people around him. This is one. This is the one I would recommend to start with. Yes? If there are things being taught in school that are un-Islamic, how do you deal with it? You have three options. Option one is you homeschool, which means one of two parents will be at home dedicated to the children and to the nurturing of the children. This is not an option for most people, but I consider this to be the best option, wallahu a'lam, from experience. Option two, you remove them from this school. You choose a school that lesser of two evils. There are some schools that are very populated with Muslims where the teachers wouldn't dare try. If they try, they know there's going to be a riot, so they don't touch these topics. Or in some places there are good Islamic schools, private Islamic schools, if you can afford them. Now, let's say you can't do option one, you can't do option two, you're stuck with option three. The child's going to school and they will be taught this stuff. What option do you have now? You need to give 2 evenings a week, not one, 2 evenings a week. After school, child comes home from school at 3:30, give them food, let them change. You sit down with them, you do story time, you play with them, and you tell them the story of Lut alayhi salam. And you explain to them the difference between our values and these values. You teach them in a very careful manner. And you make it clear to them. Now, if a parent is doing this, it's very powerful. Twice a week. So the child has momentum, repeated the same message, repeating again and again and again. Teach them about Allah, teach them the stories of the prophets, and then teach them the skill of standing up for your values. If you do less than 2 evenings a week, you won't see the benefit. Allahu A'lam. One thing you should not do, there's no fourth option. Do not think that the madrasa, the maulana, and the maktab, and the imam is going to do the job for you. This job, don't outsource it. This is one job, saving the iman of your children. Do not outsource that job to anybody, please. Because I wouldn't trust anybody else. I wouldn't trust anybody else with the iman of your children. They might get it wrong. Allah knows best. These are your 3 options, inshallah. Yes? How do you become close to Allah and become a better Muslim? For now, just listen to what Baba tells you to do. That inshallah, you'll become close to Allah and you'll become a better Muslim. Yes? People who want to become parents in the next 5 years, what are the practical tips? What would I tell them to do? I would say, look, you can't prepare to be a parent because you will be branded by fire. You'll learn on the job. Right now, the greatest thing that you can do is finding the right spouse. So how many young men, I'm sorry, I only help young men to find spouses, so I don't know about sisters. Young men, yes, brother, you're looking for a wife? Yes, akhi, I'm looking for a wife. All right, what are you looking for? This. Okay. Yes, my brother, I found a sister for you. This is the sister. This is her profile. What do you think? But Ustadh, she's not a 10 out of 10 though. Okay, so what do you want, sorry? You want Miss Universe with abaya and niqab and Master Chef and she drives a Ferrari. Yeah, Sheikh, go to Pluto. Maybe you'll find somebody. I resign from this. I can't help you. So, young men, please look for the right things in a spouse. Please temper, if you ask me for 10 out of 10, just please look in the mirror first. Yeah, let's get like a nice balanced review of your looks. If we get to 6.3 out of 10, please cap it at 6. Okay? Looks are not everything. Looks will dissolve, looks will fade, creases will come. But what endures is the character of a person. And the character of a person beautifies a person more. So give them a chance beyond the image. This is for the men. I don't know about the sisters. That's a different world. It's not my world. But I have to say this. The greatest favor you can do yourself right now is to pick the right spouse. If you want to be in the next 5 years, before becoming a parent, the greatest thing you can do is pick the right spouse. And volunteer to look after children. You have an uncle, you have a cousin, you have an older sibling, they've got little kids. Say, you know what, drop them at mine for a few hours. You go out with your missus and go have some food. You start a little circle in the masjid for little children. Why? Now you're getting used to teaching and playing and being around children. When you have children, inshallah, it'll be a lot easier. So volunteer to look after and teach children. That will prepare you well, inshallah. Allah knows best. Yes, brother. How old are you? You're 21. Okay. If you're someone in your 20s and you're trying to help youth in the area, there's a really good organization called Here for Youth. Here for Youth. It's a Muslim-run organization where they help Masjid to create a youth hub and engage young people, set up a youth program, etc. I'd say look at the age group and tailor what you're doing to them. So if you're going to get 0 to 7-year-olds, don't try to teach them Aqidah Tahawiyah in the masjid, right? So tailor it to them. Sometimes you need play, sometimes you need fun, sometimes you need to bring games and fun into the masjid so children are attracted to the masjid. But just tailor your program, inshallah. Tailor your program to the age group that you're dealing with, and Allah knows best. Any questions from the sisters? No questions from the sisters? Yes. Yeah. That's a good point. He's asked, as children become from age 7 to 21, how controlling should a parent be on where their children take their deen from? I would say, at this point in time, a parent should be able to have a conversation with their child about where to and not to take their knowledge from. And simply put, do not let your children listen to somebody that you wouldn't listen to yourself. That's also a very sensitive age where children can get the wrong ideas and go down the wrong path. I'll give you an example. On Friday, I was in Cambridge. A 13-year-old boy came to me and he said, Ustadh, isn't it obligatory to do hijrah? I said, to where? He said, to the land that applies all the Islamic law. I said, where? Please tell me where. So this young man, he said, but Ustadh, it's haram for us to be here. I said, so have you spoke to your parents about this? He said, no, they don't know, it's a secret, but everything they do is haram. I say, Habibi, what have you been watching on YouTube? What have you been watching on YouTube? He said, you know, Ustadh, most of the Muslims are kuffar. I said, whoa, brother. What did you have in your chai this morning, little boy? I said, then I said, where's your father? He said, there. I said, I'll speak to you later, young man. Let me go speak to Baba. Please be careful what they're watching, what they're listening to, because they can pick up the wrong ideas at that age, especially between the ages of 10 and 17. Wallahu a'lam. Barakallahu feekum. Oh yes, sorry. Yeah. It's a good question. He said to homeschool, do you need to have a certain skill level to teach your own children? You know what's the most important thing in homeschooling is not skills, it's a network. Because imagine if you have 10 families homeschooling, one parent, let's say, is a teacher, another parent has this skill, another parent has... So together, they say it takes a village to raise a child. This is what you need to find. Find a network or a community or a group of homeschoolers. And if you're the only one, then be the first one to start that group and let people know about it. This is more important than skills and curriculums and everything else. But if you search, you will find a lot of Islamic curriculums and books and textbooks, etc. But the most important thing is the network, the community of homeschoolers. Once you have more than 5 families, you can really, things will become a lot easier. Allah knows best. Yes? Come sir. Yeah. People who teach at maktab, what's my best piece of advice? Resign. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. Relax. My advice, people who teach at maktab, is that if you're teaching 0 to 7, teach them with stories and anashid and games. Make it fun for them. They will not remember anything you taught them. They will remember how you made them feel. 7 to 14, focus on iman, on history, stories of the Sahaba, stories of the Prophet, the seer of the Prophet. Because these stories create their identity. They relate, this is who I am. I am a follower of this. I come from this history, this background. This is who I am. This is what will help them. The third thing is, as a maktab or madrasa teacher, you know what your most important job is? To become the favorite person of these kids. That's your most important job. They need to love you to bits. So chocolates, flowers, gifts, toys, do what you need to bribe them. They need to love you to bits. If they love you to bits, they will do whatever you say. That's more important than anything in the curriculum textbook. Trust me. Allah knows best. So we have 5 minutes left, inshallah. So if there's no questions from the sisters and no further questions from the brothers, anything good I said is from Allah, any mistake is from myself. وصلى اللهم وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.